Welcome, guys. Good morning. Let's start out the day with this. Stanley Druckenmiller, who is a famous billionaire macro guy, also a fan of Bitcoin, gives Biden's economic policies an F and blames the Fed and Treasury for reigniting inflation. Can't say that I disagree. Okay, it just seems like our government doesn't really know what to do. We have conflicting data, economic data, and Fed Chair Powell can only do so much because, on the other hand, we have still a lot of debt. We still have a lot of borrowing happening. We still have a lot of money being printed, and it's going against what he's trying to solve, which is inflation. And he's trying to get price stability. And it's hard to do that when we have so much other shenanigans going on, right? So I don't know if there's a clear answer for this in terms of what our government in the US can do. But I do know there is one solution out there. I mean, it's clear. It's clear as day. If you think the solution to inflation and to all of our worries about money is to buy bonds, well, year to date returns is negative 0.5%. So you would be wrong. Investing in NASDAQ, S&P, better ideas. Net positive gains. Gold, even better idea. 12% gain. But what's the best idea? Bitcoin. So despite the volatility, the year-to-date return is still 53%, and there is none other that is anywhere even close. Okay, so if you put two and two together, what does that mean? Bitcoin is the answer, and it has always been the answer. Since 2009 till now, Bitcoin was created to be the answer, okay, against the shenanigans of the banks, of the governments around the world, against what central banks have done for how many years. Bitcoin is the answer, and it's proving that with its returns. Nothing has outperformed Bitcoin since the last, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It hasn't been out for 15. It's been out for 15 years. And that is why right now the fundamentals keep on growing. Bitcoin's 200-day moving average is its highest point ever recorded in history. It takes a long time to move the moving average. A 200-day moving average is more than half a year, okay? And it is the highest point ever. And it will keep going up, just like the moving average. If you just look at it, the moving average literally has never really gone down, especially if you zoom out. I'm sure if you zoom in, there may be a few little points that actually show it going down, but really it's undetectable because when you invest in Bitcoin, it's long term. And long term, Bitcoin just keeps going higher and higher and higher, keeps forming higher highs and higher lows every single cycle. And it's no different this cycle. We have just begun the parabolic phase of this cycle. We've started a bull run back in 2023 when Bitcoin was at 16,000 and recovering upwards. When I said it then, no one wanted to believe it, but we were already in the bull cycle. But now that we're after the halving event, this is when the parabolic phase of the bull cycle starts. And that's going to drive us much higher. But models like this shows how Bitcoin is just getting stronger and stronger and stronger, despite short-term volatility, despite the fact there may be times where Bitcoin dips 20% or 25% like what we just went through. Does not matter. Just think about Bitcoin long-term. Now, in terms of short-term data, this is actually pretty good. Netflow, 2 positive days of net flow. We had 7 consecutive days, basically a week, where the net outflow from the ETFs, right, were more than the inflow. So overall, we had outflows. But the last 2 days has been very positive. 300, it's hard to see, I know, I'm going to read off the number, but 378 million, and that was on Friday. And yesterday, we had a net inflow of 217 million, okay? But overall, you could see the net inflow is a lot more than outflow since the beginning of the ETFs, right? It's just recently we took a little breather. And Grayscale is still positive. 2 days straight, Grayscale did not have outflow. Inflow. Yesterday was barely $3 million, okay? But you could see how much came out of Grayscale. And despite all this selling, Bitcoin still held its own. In fact, not only that, Bitcoin went to a new high before coming down a little bit. But just look at, we're talking about billions upon billions, actually over $10 billion worth of Bitcoin sold. And there's no other entity out there now that have this much. Besides MicroStrategy, which we know they'll never sell, and then BlackRock now. But no one else has this kind of supply. And Grayscale sold half, and still Bitcoin held and went higher. That shows you how amazing and how much strength there is, how much demand there is for Bitcoin right now. Exchange inflow right now is the lowest since 2015. 2015, what was Bitcoin in 2015? It was like $10, $15, maybe like $30, okay? And the amount of inflow, amount of people that are actually sending their Bitcoin to be sold at exchanges is the lowest level since 2015. That should tell you something, that most people holding on Bitcoin are not touching it, are not thinking about selling it, okay? So this is definitely the right move. And again, you think about demand and supply. Demand keeps on going up. Every day I show you guys how demand is going up. You have so much FOMO going on, and the supply keeps on diminishing. Not only are people not selling it at exchanges, but we see more and more and more being loaded up into the ETFs. And the long-term investors, the long-term holders, we see their wallets also increase. And on top of all that, we just had the inflation rate of Bitcoin get cut in half. Now there's only 450 being produced per day. Per day. That's like nothing. That's really nothing. One big boy can eat up 450 like it's nothing. And here's the kicker. The miners aren't really selling it anyways. They're keeping that 450 for themselves. So it's really like everyone's just fighting again for what exists, not for any of the new Bitcoin. It's not even being released.